Well, hello there. This is the Oli Overview for the 31st of July 2020, accompanied ably by the fan from my MacBook Pro in the background. But it's getting late and I can't afford to wait for it to shut up, so I'm going to carry on. So, history. On the 31st of July in 30 BC, Mark Antony won a not really decisive victory against Octavian in the Battle of Alexandria. But shortly afterwards, seeing the writings on the wall, so to speak, his army deserted and he later committed suicide, so not really a red letter day. In 781 AD, on the 31st of July, we find the oldest recorded eruption of Mount Fuji in Japan. So there's that. In 1588, on the 31st of July, the Spanish Armada was first spotted off the English coast. Sir Francis Drake would later go on to sabotage the Spanish Armada by night. And, well, you know, any win's a win. In 1703, on the 31st of July, Daniel Defoe was pilloried for having published a politically satirical pamphlet, but the people were on his side and they, quote-unquote, pelted him with flowers rather than rotten vegetables and rocks. So that was a win for people power early on. In 1856, the city of Christchurch in New Zealand was chartered as a city. In 1970, on the 31st of July, what has become known as Black Top Day happened. This was the final day that the sanctioned ration of rum was handed out to rates, in other words, non-commissioned men on Royal Navy ships and in Royal Navy dockyards and so forth. In fact, I need to check that. I think the rum ration was only for men who were at sea. But anyway, 1970, 31st of July, last time it happened. And in 2006, Fidel Castro deferred and passed power to his brother Ramon. If you were born on the 31st of July, you share your birthday with Maximilian II, Holy Roman Emperor, with John Canton, British physicist and academic, with Ignacio Cervantes, Cuban pianist and composer. Cuba, see? Cuba. Yeah. Stephanie Kwolek, US chemist and the inventor of Kevlar. Carmel Quinn, Irish singer, actress and writer. Sherry Lansing, US film producer. Andrew Marr, Scottish journalist and writer. Wesley Snipes, American actor and producer. And Norman Cook, otherwise known as Fatboy Slim, British DJ and musician and husband of Zoe Ball. In a weird turn of events, I used to work with someone called Norman Cook, who put an E on the end of the Cook. So obviously he wasn't actually the DJ moonlighting as a PHP developer. But just after I wrote my notes for this, I checked LinkedIn and I got a notification that Norman had been at his current job for 13 years. And I just thought it was the weirdest bit of synchronicity. Anyway, in the news today, Bristol musician, songwriter and solo performer Laura Kidd, who is currently performing as Penfriend, performed her third live online gig from her home studio in Bristol for the Correspondence Club, her online supporters. If you would be interested in checking her work out, you can find her at penfriend.rocks on the internet. And I have raved somewhat on Twitter and Facebook about her brilliant podcast, Attention Engineer, which you should also check out wherever you get podcasts. That's Attention Engineer. In other news, the British Prime Minister, Bojo the Clown, as I like to call him, has announced that lockdown easing is to be paused, and at the same time, extended lockdown measures have been brought into play in Greater Manchester, parts of East Lancashire and West Yorkshire. There have been some quite controversial statements on both sides of the political divide. It's clearly one of those things that has inflamed people's anger because these are areas very heavily populated, although still in the minority, by people from Muslim communities, and today was the first day of Eid. So the British government has basically just cancelled Christmas for the Muslim population, which Not good, really. Particularly as they made a point of pointing out that in all those places you could still go to the pub. Sort of like kicking somebody when they're down, really, that. In other news, James Murdoch has finally found his backbone and a conscience and quit News Corp after years of sniping at the organisation's political bias and his distaste for their approach. He's finally resigned, having still trousered years' worth of salary and bonuses, stating differences editorially with the company. And in sad news, Sir Alan Parker, British film director, has passed away at the age of 76. His first full-length film, Bugsy Malone, will be a favourite to many of my age group, and was the first film sort of success for Scott Baio in the title role, but it's also a notable early performance by Jodie Foster as Tallulah. He went on to make the film Fame and also The Commitments. He also made the film version of The Wall with Bob Geldof starring as Pink. And his final film, The Life and Death of David Gale, is actually a pretty fantastic piece of work. He was a truly great visionary of the British cinema sort of glitterati, and it's a shame that he's gone. Anyway, on that note, sombre though it is, we should celebrate his work. Everyone should go and watch an Alan Parker film this weekend. That would be fantastic. I also want to encourage you to set any alarms in order to make sure that you take your medication or do the big thing that you must do. And I hope you will have a wonderful Saturday. With any luck, I will reappear to sum it all up with my overview at the end. Ta-ta.